Hey guys, just a quick video on how to change out the tension springs on your Radiomaster Pocket. Typically when I get a radio, I feel like I'm fighting the sticks all the time. So I usually adjust them and get the tension where I need to be. So after flying this for a couple days, I went on a Radiomaster's website to see exactly how to adjust the tension. And I was able to get the throttle where I wanted it to be, but when I adjusted the yaw and the pitch and the roll, the sticks wouldn't want to recenter anymore. So yeah, I felt like there was less tension, but you know, the sticks would end up over here one time, or they'd be over here. They would never recenter. So anyways, I took this thing apart. I was able to do the throttle and the yaw side. And man, it was kind of a cluster in the beginning, but once I figured out how to do it, I think the second side, the pitch and the roll is gonna be much easier. So I'm gonna pull this thing back apart and show you how I do it. So yeah, let's tear this thing down. We are ready to tear into this thing, but before we do that, I'm gonna go over the tools you might need to do this. I use this little pad that I had laying around. Yeah, it'll help hold the radio and pad it while we're working on it so we don't mess it up. You're gonna need a 1.5 millimeter Allen wrench, 2 millimeter Allen wrench. You might need some miscellaneous tweezers to grab the spring and a little slider in there. A jeweler's Phillips head screwdriver. Some miscellaneous hooks might make it easier for you to hook the spring. And last but not least, you'll need your alternate springs that came in your Radiomaster box. These springs, they look similar to the ones that are in here, you'll see, but they're actually a little bit softer spring rate. To start, we're gonna flip this thing over, pull off the rubber grippers on the back. We'll remove the batteries. So now we get that stuff out of the way, let's start tearing this thing down. First thing you're gonna remove, there's 4 Allen screws on the back of the radio. So we get the screws out, now we're gonna pull the back plate off. And the back plate has this black harness that goes from the back plate to the motherboard. So we're going to carefully remove that. We'll set that off to the side. And it's going to be hard to zoom in on this and show you exactly what I'm doing, but I'll take pictures and put them up in the video as we go along so you can see close-ups of what's going on. The first thing we need to do is there's 2 Phillips head screws on what I'm going to call the bearing cap right here. And those 2 little screws need to come out. Now that we have the bearing cap off, this rocker arm can swing up, and along with it you'll see the spring and a little slider, like a little T-slider, pop up with it. But basically you lift this rocker arm up, the spring's attached to the rocker arm, and then there's a little T-slider that the spring hooks into on the bottom side. So it likes to slip out on you, so be careful. But you can set the little T-slider aside, and then we can take the spring off. We'll set that aside. Next, we're going to take the new spring, the softer spring. We're going to slip that on this rocker arm. And then we're going to take that little T-slider, which I'll show a picture of, and you're going to loop it through, you're going to connect it to the bottom of the softer spring. And then this next part is going to try your patience. Now you got to keep the spring on it, and you got to put it back in the slot without it falling off the spring. So a little T-slider slides in this little slot up and down. And I got that one on the first try, but the other gimbal, it probably took me 10 or 15 times to get it just right. Now we got to put the bearing cap back on, and take note there's a little elbow on the end that captures a pin on this left side of the gimbal. So just make sure that is on the very end of the pin and not on top of it, or it won't sit flush. Grab your black Phillips head screws, and we're going to put those back through the bearing caps. And the top spring's done. Now we got to move to the other spring, and I'm just going to fast forward through that so you guys don't need to see it do it again, but it's basically the same thing. It's just the spring on this side over here, but same setup. Remove the bearing cap by removing these 2 Phillips head screws. Pull the rocker arm up, unhook the spring from the rocker arm, and then unhook it from the T-slider. before we put it all back together, I want to check the operation, make sure it's good. And one thing I do notice from the stronger springs to these weaker springs is they do make a little bit different noise. And I think it's because they're a little bit weaker spring. The coils of the spring are actually slapping together more than they do with the stiffer springs. And one thing to note is you may have to adjust these tension screws just a little bit. I noticed the softer springs are a little bit taller. So on this side, I had to adjust the screw in just a little bit to make it feel just right, to make it feel tight. And it's a feel thing, so yours may be a little different, but I end up screwing these in just maybe 3 or 4 threads. And it takes the slop out of the center. I feel like I still have a little slop in the roll, so. That's actually this guy up here. Yeah, it's a fine line of tightening it just enough to take the slack out and not tightening it up so that they're tight like they were before. All right, springs are in, the tensioned where I want them. So now we just got to throw the back on. So we got all our screws in, we got our springs in, we got the tension set. Don't forget to plug this harness into the back plate. It's pretty delicate, so take your time, be careful. We'll clip the front and the back plate together. You're gonna need these Allen head screws again. 2mm Allen wrench. Put our batteries back in. We're going to put our rubber gripper pads back on. Now we just got to test it, make sure it works.
Welcome to HTX. Throttle warning. Switch warning.
There you go, power's up. Hope this video helped you guys. If you found it helpful, please don't forget to like, subscribe, and comment down below. Thanks for stopping by.
We must pay homage to